defenders are not real lawyers. I will say that my student loans suggest something different. But with that said, I'm really, really happy to be here and talk about the work that we do in the public defender's office.
Okay, I got a caller already. Her name is Dr. D. Hey, Dr. D, how you doing? You're live, uncut, unedited. You have a question? Dr. D? All right.
I'm sorry, I was away from my phone. I have my earpiece in. No, I do not have a question right now, but I will.
Okay. All right.
So you can come back to me.
Okay, partner. I'm gonna let my partner say. You want to say something real quick, partner?
Well, you know what? Right now, I'm just listening, but I guess I'll say this. I agree with Mark. You know, when it comes to public defenders, I still kind of feel that way. So I'm hoping that you could just say something to help us, you know, have a clear understanding that, you know, public defenders do the work, that, you know, you may spend the money on the attorney and still not get the same effect. What can you say to help people who don't believe that today? Is it anything you can say, sir?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, the sad reality is the criminal legal system for decades and decades and decades has been, the laws have been written by prosecutors, have been written by police. And they've created outcomes that work to the detriment of our community. Whether we're talking about sentencing laws, reentry laws, access to courts, those laws have been written by people that want to see Black people in prison. Public defenders fit into the system as the representatives of those communities who are facing a really tragic system. What I will say, though, is that while the media has one perception of what public defenders are, and through word of mouth, there is a perception of who public defenders are, I would say that the Cook County Public Defender's Office is not perfect, but I think it's one of the finest public defender's offices in the country. It's one of the most well-resourced public defender's offices in the country. And what we have are 500 experts in criminal law. There is this idea that, you know, you can go get yourself, quote unquote, a real lawyer, and that real lawyer will solve all problems. And I've seen time and time again, people from our community run into a paid lawyer, thinking that something different is going to happen, and, you know, getting disrespected but having to pay for it. I'm not going to sit here and act as if the public defender's office has been perfect. I'm not going to sit here and act as if that caseloads in the past have not been quite high. But what I can say is, with the public defender's office, you are going to get a person who's an expert in the law. And while there are people out there that think they can do it better on their own, or pay some other person from outside our community to change the reality, what I've seen, and with my opinion, I'm highly biased, that the public defender's office has a monopoly on really solid, really professional, really accomplished attorneys. And there's no law office in the city, quite frankly, that employs more Black defense attorneys. And there's no office in this city or county that has the expertise that we have.
Wow.
Okay. I want to say, all my life, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was born and raised, and I've always been taught, you know, the stereotype: never use a public defender. They're gonna just tell you to plea bargain and get it over with, and things like that. And a lot of people have gotten off with public defender. They start off with a paid lawyer, and they could no longer afford the lawyer anymore, and so they went to the public defender and got off. I know a case of that right now. Right now, a person got off on a murder charge. You know, my nephew, he got a paid hire lawyer, and he couldn't pay him no more, and the public defender took over, and he's out in jail today. You know, it happens, you know.
Yeah, I mean, your cousin, your nephew isn't alone. The public defender's office has secured hundreds and hundreds of not guilties each and every year. You know, I don't expect our words to change people's minds, right? I don't think I'm going to be able to talk people into believing what they believed for years and years and years. But what I can say is that I believe that we're some of the finest attorneys in this county, and I've seen through my experience people thinking that they're going to get something they're not. If you can afford an attorney, the law says that you should hire that attorney. But what I believe is that if you cannot afford an attorney, you're not going to get a bad representation here in Cook County. You're just not. We have 500 attorneys, we have investigators, we have support staff, we have mitigators, we have specialists. There isn't an office really outside of Cook County that's more well-resourced than ours. And that's not to say that we don't want to improve, right? That we are constantly trying to work with our commissioners to get more funding to hire more attorneys. But I think there are a lot of people that think things about public defenders that isn't true here in Cook County.
Okay. I have a question real quick. Also, I interviewed your partner, and he was telling us, I remember, Vera, he was telling us that if you get arrested and you need a lawyer, it's a number that we can call, that you guys will come and represent us in jail, you know?
Yeah, so, one of the things I talked about is that the Cook County Public Defender's Office has a lot of resources. And one of those resources we have here in Cook County is our arrest hotline. So if you are a person or you have a loved one that is in custody, any type of police station, anywhere in the county, you can call our office at 844-817-4448. And an attorney from the Public Defender's Office will answer the phone 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Can you repeat that number again? Can you repeat that again, please?
Absolutely. 844-817-4448. If you have a loved one who's in custody, who is in need of legal assistance, that is a free service, and that attorney will answer that phone. And if you need an actual visit to any police station anywhere in Cook County, an attorney from the law office of the Cook County Public Defender will come to the police station to ensure that your rights are protected.
Okay, and there's also a warrant hotline, is that true? For that same number?
Exactly, the same exact number. If you think you have a warrant, a bench warrant, and you're not sure, you can call that number. An attorney will pick up, try to go through what's going on with your situation and point you in the right direction on whether you have a warrant, and if you have a warrant, what you need to do to resolve that.
So they ain't gonna call the police on them, is
Nah.
I know that, right? So look, Chief Mitchell, so look, you understand this hostility and this anger and frustration towards your office, right?
Yeah, I understand it.
And what did that look like to you on day one?
So I grew up in the city, right? I was born in South Shore. I was raised in West Pullman, and now I live in Morning Park. I was blessed. I was blessed in the sense that I had a mother and father that sent me in the right direction. I don't think there was anything special about me that changed the trajectory of my life other than my parents. And I got the opportunity to go to school, and I got the opportunity to go to law school. And I saw the great luck that I had, and quite frankly, I didn't think I deserved it, right? I saw my classmates, and I look at a picture of my kindergarten class, and I see more guys locked up than more guys that went to school. And I think that was only because I had a lot of luck with my parents. And I wanted, growing up, to take that degree that I got, both my college degree and my law degree, and help people, right, that didn't have the same luck that I had. And as I did my studies in law school, what I learned very quickly is that if I wanted to be a person that represented poor folks that grew up around me, that the only type of law that was available was two types of law, or two types of lawyers. It was working with poor people. It was being a prosecutor, or it was being a public defender. That's it. Those are the only two options. And having family that's been locked up, know what it feels like to be driving down the street, you see a police car in your rearview window and getting scared that you're going to get locked up. I knew that the prosecution just wasn't for me. So that's why I wanted to be a public defender. And I interned in the public defender's office my first year in law school. People, when they're lawyers, they usually intern in the summer between first year and second year. And I knew I was interested in the public defender's office, but I didn't know yet that I definitely wanted to do it. And I will say that I made my mind up that I wanted to be a public defender about 2 days into the internship. It was at 26th Street. It was behind the courtroom. I was working for an attorney by the name of Preston Jones, and as an intern. And I went in the back, and I saw a guy I went to school with. One of those guys I was talking about is in that kindergarten picture. And he looked at me with my suit on, and I looked at him with his suit on, and we didn't understand. I didn't understand how good a man that was good as him, a kid that was good as him, ended up in the situation that he was in, and he couldn't understand why a person who grew up where I came from was in the situation I was in on the other side of the bars. And it was at that point I decided that I was going to be a public defender. And that was the only type of law that I could practice. And I would say that that's not a unique story. You know, I've been a public defender for about 3 years. I've sat on every single interview panel. We've hired over 100 attorneys. I've sat on every single interview panel, whether those folks got the job or they didn't get the job. And what I've tried to build and what I've talked to are people that are that committed to people's freedom. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that every public defender is the greatest attorney in the world. But what I will say is that you have an office that is committed to freedom, that we work hard and that we're well resourced, and we're going to do the best job that we can do. So, you know, that's all. I understand where people are coming from. I'm from out here. I know people have been taken advantage of. But I also know that sometimes the people have been taken advantage of, that the fault lies with the laws, right? Not so much the representation. People don't understand that sometimes as public defenders, we have not done the best job informing people what the law is. But I know those laws have been written to harm our communities. And along with trying to hire the best attorneys that we can, to put resources into the office, our office is committed to helping to change the laws and working in Springfield, hiring lobbyists to try to take the experiences that we have as public defenders, as people in this community, and to take those to Springfield so that the laws aren't always against us, that they don't always force us to plead guilty or send us to prison, or when we get out of prison, not be able to get jobs and education. So we're doing the best job that we can. But to your answer, I know why people feel disrespected, why they don't trust us. And all I can say is my commitment is that we're doing the best that we can to make it happen for our communities.
I have one more question real quick. Tell us, I was reading up a little bit about you, and tell us about the community work that you've done for some of the nonprofit organizations like St. Leonard's.
Yeah, you know, I've tried to, you know, lawyers, I think sometimes think that their only value is in the courtroom. Mm-hmm. And certainly a lawyer's primary job is in the courtroom. But I think that there are a generation of lawyers that understand that their value is both inside and outside the courtroom, and I've tried to do that. So, you know, I've certainly sat on some boards like St. Leonard's, which I had to leave that board once I got this job. But I've tried to work with a lot of organizations like, you know, Live Free Chicago and, Illinois Prison Project, because I understand that there is value in representation. That's our day job. But there's also value in trying to change the laws. There's also values in trying to support people who are coming back home. And that's what I've tried to do.
Okay. I want to take a call. I think I have a call. And Helen, is that you? You have a question or a comment or anything? No.
Hi, yes, Mark. I'm sorry, Mark. Yes. Hi, Vera.
Hey.
Hi, Mark. And congratulations to you, Mr. Mitchell. I have two questions. The first question, and this is the great debate in our community. Should we get out the car if the police ask us to get out the car? And got some more content to add with that question. If we fear for our lives, and if we feel that we would be hurt if the officers are aggressive, and we have, we've handed over everything that they've asked us for, and they still want us, to get out the car. That's my first question. And my second question is, what constitute a illegal act by the police.
Mm.
An illegal what by the police?
Is that clear?
He said he didn't hear the last question. Illegal. You said illegal. What constitutes? Go ahead.
What constitutes an illegal?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Chat, we have folks that say that you have rights, that you don't have to get out the car. If I were advising my son, I'd want my son to come back home. All right, I'd want my son to survive the incident. And what I've seen is a lot of scared officers out there. I've been pulled over numerous times in the last year. I see young officers, I see scared officers, and I would be afraid that if you did not obey an order, that you could be right, but you could be dead. So my advice would be, if an officer asks you to get out of a car, then you get out of that car. And if you feel like you're not being treated fairly, that you do the best you can to remember everything that happens, that write down what you thought happens, and fight that case in the courtroom as opposed to in the street. It is embarrassing. It might make you mad. It might make you frustrated. But I want to see our people come home to their mother, to their grandmother, to their people. And I fear that if you are seen as disobeying an order, that might have an officer that decides that you are a threat and take your life. And we have a long history of that here in Cook County. In terms of a legal stop, it's a little bit of a complicated question, but essentially officers have the ability to pull you over if there's a violation of the law, and they have the ability to search your car if they have consent to do so, or they've arrested you and they're taking you out of the car. So it's always best to, if they ask you can you search your car, I would decline. But if they decide to do that, then you've got to fight that in court with the Fourth Amendment motion.
So when you said they asked you to step, after the question was they asked you to step, I would definitely say, they don't consent to any searches because they're wearing a camera now. So while at the same time you say, yeah, I'm getting out because you're making me get out, but I don't consent to any searches.
Exactly.
And that's on tape. So that's when it becomes an illegal search at that point. Exactly. You see? So, right. So I got pulled over 150 times, so I kind of know that,
Yeah, well, it's
right. But make sure, like you said, if there ain't no camera on, I'm getting on the car, out the car on the ground, quick, right? But,
I want to say this too. I've been pulled over so many times and asked to get out the car. I remember the last time I got pulled over, I was so frustrated. I didn't want to get out, but I said, you know what? Do the right thing. Just go and get out. And I've learned from another friend of mine, he's an attorney. He said, Martin, you can't fight the police in the street. You have to fight them in the court. And that's what I do. So if I have a problem, even though it may inconvenience me, and